So you're saying that if you were blind to racism against you, then you were also blind to cops that were committing racism?
No, so if I looked at it as whether I was talking to somebody of Latino descent, of black, whatever, male, female, I looked at them just as equally, regardless. So if you do that, then you don't see that you're disproportionately enforcing things against somebody, because I'm literally not trying to see that.
So that's interesting. So by trying to treat everyone as equal, you weren't taking account of how many black people you were dealing with, how many Latinos you were dealing with, how many people of color, how many minorities. Is that a fair assessment?
It is fair to the extent that I'll admit that when I was in the Eastern District, I would intentionally lock white people up so that I could make sure my numbers weren't like my squad. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, look, they look up 95% African Americans. I didn't want to see that. I wanted to see some kind of balance. So I was like aware that, hey, we're locking too many black people up. But I don't think it just didn't compute at the time. It takes time for it to settle in.
So what about those poor white people that you locked up on purpose?
I got nothing.
Were they guilty at least?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I never locked up anybody.
So what you just saw there, this guy's talking about when he was a cop in L.A., he went out of his way, you just saw him say it, he went out of his way to arrest more white people than black people because he didn't want to be a part of a system that targets minorities. Now, if you actually think about that, though, how insane that is, that we have to live in a society that goes out of their way to arrest certain people and not arrest other people, and let's not go too hard at this group of people right here, let's go harder at this people. That's not equality.
Well, that is actually racism and discrimination.
That's crazy.
It's discrimination. That is racism when you do that.
And I sort of get where he's coming at, because he's like, okay, we're in a country that thinks all of us are racist, and if we just only arrested black people, then people would think that we're targeting black people. So we try to make our numbers more even. And that mentality that he mentioned, I know it's just one person talking, but I'm sure that's a big thing right now in police. Like we have this overarching mentality that we have to have equality, equity in all the areas of life. That if you like, this gentleman told a reporter that because a politician doesn't come into a room with a panel that's half black people, half white people, then that means he is perpetuating racism systematically in our country. Like that all of a sudden means that equality means everyone has to be equal no matter what.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Yeah,
it's madness.
It's madness, and that's what's going on right now.
And these cops, they have everybody watching their every move now, and now all they can do is analyze and overanalyze. And like you said, now he's got thinking about, oh well, now I have to lay off of this type of person, and I need to arrest more of these people so that my numbers look more equal. And
yeah.
That is not justice. It
Right.
doesn't matter what race, creed, or ideology they are. If they're breaking the law, they're breaking the law.
Yeah, and
if
like
they need to be arrested, they need to be arrested. If
and
they
when,
don't, then they don't.
When an unarmed black person gets killed by a cop, that's a tragic story. Okay, I'm not saying that's not a tragic story, but then you try to show people the numbers, and you're like, well, if you look at the numbers, there's unarmed white people getting killed by cops too. And then they say, well, why are you bringing that up? Are you racist? Or no, I'm just trying to show you that maybe it's not racism that's the issue.
Systemic racism.
Yeah, maybe it's not that.
The system shows more Latino and more white people are unarmed and getting killed by cops than black people. And that's just what the statistics show out.
It's just
so the whole racist white cops hunting black people is a fallacy.
And they virtue signal. You can't
myth.
even, like this topic in general that we're even talking about, there's probably people watching us that are foaming at the mouth right now. How dare they? They don't think Black Lives Matter? It's like, no, we're not saying that.
No, of course Black Lives Matter.
True equality begins when you stop looking at people by race. When you stop thinking in terms of race, like, oh, I need to treat these people good, I got to start treating these people bad. If you stop doing that, that's where true equality exists.
Absolutely.
Equality of opportunity
Treat people
is
the same.
real equality.
Yeah, exactly. Don't look at their skin color. Don't look at their ideology, their creed. Treat them equal no matter what.
And
that is true equality.
And it's crazy because, I mean, you look at this stuff and people immediately write it off. You can't talk about it. This is a taboo subject. Just leave it alone. Leave it alone. And then what happens is this area of topic gets into the hands of people who use it to steer the wrong boat. And I'm talking about Marxism. I'm talking about Antifa. I'm talking about far left globalist mentality that they use situations like this to divide people like me and a friend of mine who might be a liberal. And what they do is they cut you in half, and they want everybody to think in terms of race to get to their goal. So it's not even just terms of race, it's terms of communities, the gay community, the black community, the insert whatever you want community, the monster drinking community. They want you to have all these little communities, right? So that what they can do is once you align yourself with some sort of whatever it is, now you have to follow whatever that ideology is. And if you don't follow that ideology, you're a traitor to your people.
It's divide and conquer.
Yeah.
The government and the globalists, nothing scares them more than people united.
Yeah.
That's why they're trying to divide and conquer. I mean, very, very strategic. You know, they use it in war. They use it everywhere. And that's the simple tactic of war.
That's what
and
the media
they're
does.
doing.
That's what the media's been doing.
Exactly what the mainstream media is doing. I mean, it's unbelievable. This body cam footage finally came out of George Floyd. Not a peep from the mainstream media.
It got real
Why?
quiet. It got real quiet when that came out.
They were so vocal when they only had the little end of the video edited, and they couldn't shut up about it. And now that the body cam footage is released, why are they quiet? Because their whole narrative has just been destroyed. It had nothing to do with race. It had, he wasn't being a law-abiding. He wasn't following commands. He wasn't being compliant, and it just completely destroyed everything that they said about him. And it's just, like I said, they're not a peep from them. Not a retraction, not an apology, not even covering it. They're not even bringing it up. I mean, Daily Mail was the one the footage was leaked to, and they're one of the only people that actually shared the video.
Yep.
And you don't see any of these, big major networks from the mainstream media. They didn't even play it.
And I'm going through social media the other day, and I saw a video. I don't know how old it was. It could have been an old video, but I think it might have been new actually. And it was a video of a woman, a white woman, she got killed by a black cop. She ran at the cop with scissors in her hands, and the whole thing was on the body cam. And I couldn't help but to think if the main response to that was, what an idiot. Why would she do that? Why would she run at a cop with scissors in her hand? Of course she's going to die. And they're right. You don't run at a police officer with scissors in your hand because you might get killed.
You don't run at a police officer, period. I mean, you
right.
can kill an
but
officer
I thought
with
about
your
it.
hands.
I thought about that. I was like, how many times does this happen? And the roles were reversed. It's a white cop and a black man with like a bat in his hand. Have you seen those videos before? And why did he use a gun? And why would you kill somebody? He's not going to kill you with a bat. Well, it doesn't matter. When you're a police officer, you're trained to protect yourself no matter what. You don't take a risk.
Yeah, when your
You just
life is in
can't.
jeopardy, and they're taught if you're going to discharge your firearm, you shoot to kill. You don't shoot to wound. You don't shoot them in the leg. You have to shoot body, center, mass. And people say, well, a bat wouldn't kill you. Well, what happens if he takes the bat to the officer, knocks the officer unconscious, now takes the officer's gun and shoots him? So just because the bat could be lethal, absolutely.
Yeah.
But even still, the cop cannot be disarmed. The cop cannot be, unconscious. Otherwise, the guy, whoever it is, the perpetrator could just take his gun and shoot him.
The world lost their mind when that person took the taser from that police officer. They lost their mind when he died because he took the cop's taser and ran away and got shot. But he tried. Did they not forget? Did they forget that he turned around with the taser and pointed at the cop?
He actually shot the taser twice.
Yeah, and it's like,
and he tried to hit the cops, and the cops are trained to use tasers. You need to understand, a taser is a deadly weapon. It is classified as a deadly weapon.
And I'm not saying
they shoot at the body because it pierces through the clothes, and that's where it's safe to use. He was pointing it at their head. You hit them in the head with that can kill them, that could blind them, that could maim their face. So I mean, that is a dangerous weapon.
And I'm not saying that people deserve to die if they make the wrong.
Not. It's always a tragedy.
It's always a tragedy, right? It's not. I'm not looking at these people like, oh, George Floyd was high on whatever fentanyl and he deserved to die. No, I'm not saying that. It's a tragic situation. It's a tragic situation for his family, for America, for the family of the police that have to go through. Their husband or their son is now in jail because he was trying to do his job. And now he's got to go to prison for the rest of his life.
One tragedy has turned into multiple tragedies. This rioting because of George Floyd, how many deaths I mean, have there
I'm just
been
trying
caused
to look
by
at it from
that?
all angles. That's all I'm
Yeah,
trying to do here.
absolutely.
And am I saying racism doesn't exist? No.
No.
I don't think racism will ever not exist.